What is up, folks at home? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dive into matching the hatch and why that's one of the most important things to help you catch more fish.
Get in there. Look at that. Pinned right there, corner of the mouth. There we go. Right there. Folks, just wanted to let you know that today's video is brought to you by Vantage Tackle. I was looking around on the internet and I found the perfect website for me. You might love it too. Vantage Tackle is home to over 50 independent tackle manufacturers, small-time guys who are making very specific lures, great quality American-made products. So if that's something that interests you, check out Vantage Tackle. I'll link all of this in my bio, but all of the baits today are from Vantage Tackle. So let's dive into those baits and see what we can get to.
So whenever I get to a new body of water, the first thing that I want to do is look at the existing forage. Are the bass eating shad? Are they eating pin minnows? What are they actively eating? The first bait that I'm always going to start out with on most trips is a swim bait. One, because bass always eat other fish, and a swim bait is a great option. Here we have the Ebb and Flow Upgrade jig head, and you can run various swim baits on this jig head. That's what makes it great. But when you're running a swim bait, you want to pick the right size. Size is key. Are they eating tiny baits? Are they eating large baits? What are they feeding on actively that is going to draw a feed response from the bass? Because matching the bass and matching the hatch simply is matching what those bass are naturally feeding on at the moment. I like to start out with an active bait. Now, you can go through the size from big 6-inch baits like you see here all the way down to, the 2 and 3 inch bait. And it's really just dependent upon what the fish are feeding on. A lot of times, being an outdoorsman, looking around, seeing what is available to fish will go a long way. A lot of guys go out to the lake and they say, I'm going to catch them on a worm today. You really got to consider where the bass are and what they're feeding on before you make decisions on what to throw. So if you cannot get bit on a horizontal presentation, then you want to start looking at, do I need to slow down? Am I presenting the bait in the right way? This is when I like to go to a drop shot, because a drop shot is a great way to put realistic looking baits in the same location, but move them through there slower or hold them in the drop zone. Here you can see fish are suspended by the bottom. They're not really moving a lot, and that tells us that they're feeding on captive schools of bait, or they're feeding on sunfish, or they're feeding on different things. So a drop shot in this situation is great. Now, when we're matching the hatch, all of these baits so far I've thrown have been neutral colored and natural colored baits that would be naturally occurring in that body of water. Sometimes that's what fish want. In clear water, that tends to work really well. In dirty water, maybe it's time for us to move to a different color. But matching the hatch means throwing a bait that is very similar to what bass are currently feeding on. In dark water, at night, or around smallmouth, sometimes loud baits work better. So here is that 4-inch flatworm from Bait Cave Customs, and as you can see, that morning dawn color really is loud in the water compared to that natural blue pearl that we were throwing earlier. And sometimes changing the color will make fish inquisitive and they'll want to eat it. Sometimes it'll turn them off. You just kind of got to work through what the fish are feeling that day and kind of what the situation is in front of you. In dirty colored water, I'm throwing brighter colored lures. In clear colored water, I'm throwing natural colored lures. The exception is smallmouth. Smallmouths are inquisitive. If you're not around smallmouth, then you're not catching them. But if you're around them, then color is literally less of a concern and more bait action. A lot of guys also tend to throw a lot of worms and minnow baits, but neglect to throw those creature profiles in different ways. So here we have that Bait Cave Customs Cave Cricket in 3-inch, and it is a literal dynamite creature bait. And what I'm looking at here is, are bass keyed in on bluegill? Are they keyed in on Crawfish, what are they keying in on to eat, and what are they willing to eat? A lot of times a creature bite might get you a bigger bite. It's going to get you a more aggressive bite sometimes than a drop shot worm will get you. So it's just something that you really have to work through as an angler. If I'm not getting bit mid-column or down, I'm going to go to the bottom. And I'm going to go more to a dead action bait. So here's that 6-inch panorama. It's the perfect example of a dead action bait. I have it Nico rigged here. And what I'm doing is I'm allowing this bait to fall to the bottom and look super realistic, but not put off a lot of action. In cold water, you don't want a lot of action. Sometime in really hot water, you also don't want a lot of action. And the panorama is a great example of a bait that is dead action and meant to be a dead action bait. It looks like a baitfish that is struggling. It really passes the visual eye test, and sometimes that's going to get you bit when an aggressive action bait or craw here would not get you bit. It's just one of those things you got to work through as you're figuring out what that bite is, and as you're transitioning from bait to bait to bait, finding out what bass want to eat is key. Now, if they won't eat anything falling through the column, now you're going to have to go to the bottom. Great place to start is a Ned rig here. A Ned rig gets bites because it looks like a small young of the year crawfish. It also is a neutral or dead action bait, meaning it falls and glides, but it doesn't do a whole lot. Besides that, the Ned rig is also just an unassuming bait. Fish are not threatened by it, it's not threatening, and it's a great way to target pressured fish. One of the ways I like to spice up my Ned rig is by adding a skirt. If you get an ebb and flow jig head, you can skirt your own. They come with that nice collar to add your skirt to, and really I like this when I'm trying to get bites but upsize my bites. Jigs catch big fish, you know, and skirted jigs catch real big fish. So it's one thing to consider, right? It's working through these natural patterns. Are they eating crawfish? Are they eating bluegill? What color do I want to throw? Do I want to match that to the bait that they're naturally eating? And working through these different lures helps a lot. A lot of guys go and pick one or two lures that they caught a bass on before, and they go to the lake and they throw that and it doesn't work out. Here I've added a nice craw trailer to the back of that jig. I really spiced it up, bulked up the profile of that jig. I'm looking to entice a bigger bite. Jigs tend to not get as many bites a day, but the bites that they get are going to be the right kind, right? If you're going to lock a jig in your hand, you might catch 5 fish all day, but they're going to be 5 of the right ones. Denny Brower used to talk about how he could flip, you know, a creature bait and catch a lot of fish, or he could catch bigger fish on a jig, right? That's wisdom that we got to take in and listen to. So matching the hatch simply comes down to presenting a bait to bass that matches what they're eating. One way that I've liked to mix it up is started to throw, you know, that bubba shot or that craw on a weightless presentation, or throwing that craw on that bubba shot, that drop shot presentation, because it's simply showing bass a realistic lure profile type in a way they haven't seen it before. And a lot of times matching the hatch can get in the way of innovation. Now, innovation here, I know that bass are eating bluegill and I know they're eating crawfish. Here I'm keeping it off the bottom, out of the muck and mire of the bottom of the pond, but I'm also giving bass a profile that they're used to seeing, that fleeing crawfish through the middle of the column, slowing it down for them, suspending it. Here I'm presenting it straight up on a nose hook drop shot, which gives it a lot more action, a lot more responsivity. So same bait, same concept, different action underwater. Get to know the baits in your tackle box, get to know the bait in your lake, and you're going to catch a whole lot more bass. You're going to catch some better quality fish simply by experimenting and showing bass that same profile differently. Guys, hope you really enjoyed today's video about matching the hatch. Look forward to seeing a whole lot more baits underwater as we go through the next few videos here. We got a ton of stuff coming up, a ton of partnership with Vantage Tackle, so let us know in the comment section what baits you want to see. Let us know what you want to see underwater. Let us know what kind of techniques you want us to check out. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up, so head on over to Vantage Tackle, check out the supply of lures and baits they have over there. Amazing selection, and give us a like, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.
There we go. Right there. Nice. Beautiful bass right there. Let's go.